It's almost time for UFC 283. I hope you guys are as amped as I am for this fight card. It's going to be insane. It's stacked from top to bottom. So, in this video, I'm going to share with you my fight predictions. And I also want you to stick around to the end of the video to find out my 3 fight of the night candidates. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. Give me a like, comment, subscribe. Thanks. All right. Good morning, everyone. So, this UFC fight card is on January 21st, 2023. It's in Brazil. Teixeira versus Hill. It's going to be an insane fight card. We have Brandon versus Moreno for the 4th time, which is insane. 2 title fights, 15 fights on the card. Let me get rid of this pop-up. There we go. So first fight, we have in the prelims, 135-pound division, Daniel Marcos versus Saimon Oliveira. So Daniel Marcos just won on the Contender Series, won a decision. Saimon Oliveira won on the Contender Series a split decision, but he lost to Tony Gravely in UFC recently. He was just chasing guillotines constantly, and that kind of was a downfall for him because Gravely was able to just get on top and kind of beat him. From what I've seen with Daniel Marcos in his Contender Series fight, he had pretty decent striking. This was really hard for me to pick this one. But Daniel Marcos hasn't really fought the toughest competition from what I've seen. He's from Peru, and it's not necessarily his fault. That's just the reality of it. So I'm leaning towards Saimon Oliveira for this one. So I'm going to pick Saimon Oliveira. But this one was really hard for me to pick because this guy's striking looked kind of better in a way. But I feel like this guy's fought the tougher competition. So I'm going to go with him. And then Luan Lacerda. I watched his fight. I believe he fought in the LFA. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. So he has a lot of submission finishes. But with that being said, he was kind of getting touched up in his LFA fight with the guys boxing from the other guys boxing in LFA. So my concern with that is Cody Stamann is kind of really well-rounded, and he's a vet. He's fought like really good competition. I'll just go into him a little bit here. So he's fought guys like Sad Nurmagomedov, Marab, Jimmy Rivera. Like 2 decision losses to these guys who are top. Well, probably Jimmy Rivera was a top 10 guy at the time. Marab's top 5 now. Said is a beast. Just lost to him, but then he just beat Eddie Wineland, who's kind of on his way out as a vet. But with that being said, I do think Kelleher is the vet. He'll be more seasoned, more comfortable in there, and should have the advantage in this one. Should be able to keep it on the feet and just pick them apart. I don't think the other guy's going to be able to get him down super easily. So I think that'll play into Stamann's game plan. So Warlley Alves versus Nicholas Dalby. So Nicholas Dalby, he seems to kind of a lot of his fights go to decision in the UFC. Well, at least since he's been in the UFC. Warlley Alves, either he gets finished or he finishes his opponents. So he's like if you look here, he probably loses one and wins one kind of thing. So he started off right. He went to decision with Usman back in 2016, but I only like to look like the last year or so just to kind of see where they're at. So Nicholas Dalby, Jeremiah Wells. So yeah, he beat Mounir Laziz, who's a beast. That one was actually really impressive. But that's the thing with him. He comes out and throws all of his power in every shot. So you can tell when he wins, he usually hurts the guy. Or he goes in and he gets finished because he usually gasses out. With that being said, he lost to Krause, Randy Brown, and Jeremiah Wells, all pretty good dudes. Nicholas Dalby, I believe he's won a few since he's been in the UFC. Yeah, he's only lost to Tim Means. So, I mean, on paper, it looks like he's kind of has a better record going in. Beat Daniel Rodrigues, who that's very impressive because he has really good boxing. He's very good at grinding out decisions, winning fights that way. So this is really hard for me to pick, but I feel like Warlley Alves, when he hits Nicholas Dalby, he'll just hurt him. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and just say Warlley Alves is gonna get a finish. But with that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if Dalby ekes out a decision as well, kind of just grinds it out, and he's very good at doing that. But I'm gonna pick Warlley Alves for that fight. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going a little bit faster today because we have 15 fights on this card, and I don't want to make an hour video unless leave in the comments kind of what time frame you like these videos, because if you want, I could always speed these up for the next one as well. That'd be awesome. Let me know what you guys are looking for, and I'll try to provide that. So the next fight is Thiago Moises versus Guram Kutateladze. So Thiago Moises is a beast. He lost to Islam Makhachev, went to the 4th round with him, so that's pretty impressive. I think a year or two ago. Guram Kutateladze, he just had a fight with a guy, I think last year or the year before, some Russian guy who's a beast. And that was a split decision loss. Before that, he was on a tear, I believe. Yeah, Demir, this guy right here. So he beat Mateusz Gamrot when he was undefeated, so that's no joke, by split decision. So like I said, that's a close fight. That was a close fight. So other than that though, like you can tell he's fought some game opponents, guys with some experience, on his way up, like lost to a guy 5-0 when he was 3-1. Yeah, so definitely a beast, really well-rounded. Believe he has a ton of kickboxing experience as well, which will definitely help. And he's fighting a beast in Thiago Moises. However, I do believe, let's see here. Yeah, so he lost to Joel Alvarez and Islam Makhachev, both beasts. Beat Christos Giagos, not as good. So I think this will be a competitive fight, but I'm going to go with Guram Kutateladze for this one. Okay. So we are moving here. So let's go Jailton Almeida, Shamil Abdurakhimov. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to get right to the point. Jailton Almeida is a savage. He was a light heavyweight, but he moved up to heavyweight. He has amazing grappling, and he gets the fight there. Now, with that being said, this guy has a ton of experience. He's a big Russian. I feel like he'll have the size, but Jailton Almeida is really good at getting to people's back and choking them out. So I wouldn't be surprised if he wins by submission or just grinds them out with ground and pound, maybe gets a decision, but I don't see him lasting 3 rounds. Just because of Jailton Almeida's style. I believe he just gets a ton of yeah, and he's on a 3-fight losing streak. With that being said, they're all beasts. Sergey Pavlovich is knocking out everybody. Dawkins is a beast. Curtis Blades is a beast. So that being said, this guy could come out and still do well. I just don't see it happening, especially in Brazil, where this guy is from. But he will be undersized. That being said, he was also undersized in his last fight. So beat these 2 guys rear naked choke. Yeah, he's on a good win streak here. Yeah, like he hasn't lost since 2018, and he just you can just see like he just finishes everybody, especially a lot of rear naked chokes. So I'm gonna go with Jailton Almeida on this one, guys. That one was probably the easiest fight for me to pick of the whole card. So let's see what else we got here. Some of these fights were really hard to pick, to be honest. Like this next one, Terrance McKinney, Ismael Bonfim. So I watched this guy fight on the Contender Series. Looked like he had really good boxing, striking. He looked a little more. He looked good, but he's really thick. Where this guy's a little bit longer, so he just looks like he might not be as quick as Terrance McKinney. but his technique is really good. With that being said, he wasn't fighting the same level that well, this guy actually had a really good record, but he was undersized. This guy was actually shorter than he was. So he actually had like a range advantage, and he's not super tall for lightweight, 5'8". There's some guys that are like 6 foot. So but with that being said, he is on a tear. He's on a big win streak. Here's the thing with this fight, I think is gonna happen. So Terrance McKinney, he comes out like a buzzsaw. He just tries to kill people in the first round. So what he's going to do, like you can see here, he's the only person he's lost to is Drew Dober, and he almost knocked out Drew Dober in this first round. So if he did that, he would still be on a winning streak right now. Then he lost in 2019. So what happens with this guy, if you notice, first round finishes all the way, right? Or he got finished in the first round. So this fight with Drew Dober is a perfect one to look at, because what happened was he was smashing Drew Dober quick. Like he almost knocked out Drew Dober, and he's a beast. Drew Dober's good defensively. He was just getting caught because this guy, like I said, he's just a buzzsaw. He comes in for the kill right away. Super exciting to watch. But with that being said, when Drew Dober was able to outlast, kind of be durable enough to handle the fury right off the hop, he came back and was able to get the finish because Terrance McKinney gassed out. So I think if you can get past that first round with Terrance McKinney, you have a really good chance of winning. And if this team, from what I've seen, they're probably going to notice that. So this one's really hard for me to pick. If it goes past the first round, Ismael Bonfim's going to win. I truly believe that. I just think Terrance McKinney will gas himself out in the first round. Unless he decides to start fighting differently all of a sudden, but I don't see it happening. With that being said, I think this guy has to get through the first round, and he was getting hit in his last fight against a guy who I don't think is as good of a striker as this guy. So with that being said, I'm going to go with Terrance McKinney on this. I think he's maybe going to get a first round knockout. Not 100% on the first round knockout, but I think if it goes past the first round, it favors Bonfim a lot more. Okay. So Paul Gregg, Johnny Walker. This one was a tough one for me to pick. Johnny Walker kind of fights like a wild man as well, so not the smartest at times. Paul Craig fights a little smarter, gets people to the ground. They're pretty much done. That being said, Ozdemir, his last fight, he actually lost that fight. I think if it stays on the feet, Johnny Walker probably wins. If it goes to the ground, Paul Craig probably wins. Paul Craig fights a smart fight, kind of waits for his opportunity to get him down. I think he wins the fight. I think Paul Craig probably ekes out a decision here, or if he gets him to the ground, a submission. It's a tough fight for me to pick. Just some of these fights are really closely matched, it seems like. Brad Tavares, Gregory Rodrigues, another tough one. But based on experience, who they've fought, I'm going to go with Brad Tavares on this one. Josiane Nunes versus Zarah Fairn. I don't believe she's fought for a couple of years. I think the last fight was in, let's see here, 2020. So it's been about 3 years, just under 3 years. Lost to Megan Anderson, Felicia Spencer, both pretty good. So she hasn't had a UFC win yet, beating girls on a local circuit, but lost to these two girls. She's fighting Josiane Nunes, who I believe is on a 2-fight win streak in the UFC. Excuse me. So Bea Malecki and Ramona Pascal, she beat both of these ladies. So I think for this one, I'm going to go with Josiane Nunes. Okay, moving here pretty good. So this is going to be a sweet fight card. Which fight are you guys most excited for? Drop it in the comments. Let me know. Let me know which one you're most excited for. I'm going to let you know at the end of the video which one I'm most excited for and what my fight of the night will be. Okay, so next fight, Gabrielle Bonfim versus Mounir Laziz. This guy's a great striker. I actually really like his striking style. Gabrielle Bonfim, this guy was a beast too. I watched him on Contender Series. Really good striking. He fought a really lanky opponent. not the same as Mounir Laziz exactly, but kind of similar, a little less experienced, but longer than Mounir Laziz. This guy kind of keeps his chin up in the air, which I wasn't a fan of, but he was able to still kind of outstrike the guy that he was with, even though the guy looked really good that he was fighting. And then I think he went for a takedown. The guy went for a guillotine, and he ended up getting him with a Bonfim choke really quick. So that was actually really nice. So you've seen a little bit of his a lot of his striking in his fight, and then a little bit of his jiu-jitsu. So kind of well-rounded, it seemed like. Undefeated. I don't know really other than that other guy who he's fought as competition. Yeah, a lot of these guys. So there we go. There's an 8-0 guy, LFA. So that's good. Round 3 finishes 13-3. Kind of look at their last few fights because these ones are lower circuit probably. And then yeah, LFA is good. So 13-3, finished him with a Darce. So he's got good jiu-jitsu, obviously, punches. So and he had good striking. He just kind of keeps his chin up in the air and gets hit a little more than he probably needs to. But with that being said, he is aggressive and got the finish in his fight. So who am I to kind of chirp that, right? So Mounir Laziz, let's see here. Let's go. So he's got Warlley Alves was his loss. Other than that, he's pretty much won. Yeah, he's won two fights in the UFC. Not the most active, 1 fight per year, but he's won. He might have been injured or something, who knows. But he beat Abdul Razak Al Hassan. He's a good striker, beast. Angelusa, and lost to Warlley Alves, who's a savage. So this will be a good fight, I think. Just based on what I've seen, though, I think Gabrielle Bonfim might be a little more well-rounded. So I'm going to lean towards him for this fight. He is undefeated, so nobody's actually beaten him either. So I think he might pull this one out. With that being said, this guy's a great striker. I could see him totally clipping this guy and catching him as well. All right, to the main card. This is a crazy stacked card, by the way. All these fights are going to be insanely good. So don't miss out on this. So Gilbert Burns versus Neil Magny. It's going to be an awesome fight as well. So Magny is a volume fighter, really well-rounded, good on the ground, good on the feet, very long. That's where I think he could give Burns some issues, is with the volume and his length. That being said, Gilbert Burns, very well-rounded as well, even more so probably on the ground. Neil Magny, I think, pepper him up with volume. I think that'll be Magny's game plan, is just try to overwhelm him with strikes. That being said, I can't go against Gilbert Burns. He is a beast. I'm going to pick Gilbert Burns, but I will not be surprised if either one of these guys wins. But I think Gilbert Burns will have the edge, just based on experience. If he wants to try and wrestle him, if he can get him down, just if he mixes it up really well, that threat of the takedown should open up his striking, because Gilbert Burns' jiu-jitsu game is so good that nobody's going to want to be on their back with him on top. So I'm going to go Gilbert Burns on this one. Next one, Lauren Murphy versus Jessica Andrade. Jessica Andrade all day. That one's for me is a no-brainer. I'll never bet against this girl, unless maybe she's fighting one of the top 3 people like Weili Zhang, Rose. Even Rose, I would still bet against. I would still bet Jessica Andrade in a 5-round fight on that. She's a beast, man. She actually KOs girls, so that's why I really enjoy watching her fight. She goes for the kill. Mauricio Rua versus Ihor Potera. So Rua, I believe, is on a 2-fight losing streak. He hasn't fought the most. I think he might be fighting once a year. He is older now. I don't really blame him. So he fought Paul Craig. He tapped to strikes. So like when I see something like that, when you tap to strikes, that's, to me, that's when it's like, you know, you're getting beat. But that's very rare. People usually, as a fighter, people usually will not tap the strikes. That's just something like is very rare to see. When I see that, that tells me that he's probably near the end of his career. He's probably ready to retire. Not 100%, but that's just my opinion on that. Nobody has to agree with me on that, but it's just my opinion. Last time he won was 2020 split decision. Now, with that being said, this guy he fought kind of had a padded record, 18-3. So this is where I'm kind of on the fence about it. With that being said, I think his last fight, yeah, he fought Nicolae Negreanu, and he actually landed some decent strikes in that fight. He just kind of got out wrestled and beat up. Beat this guy who was undefeated in Contender Series. So I think, and he seemed kind of fast. He seemed kind of big. I think he's going to have the edge on Shogun. And with that being said, it is in Brazil. Who knows? This could be Shogun's last fight. Maybe he comes out putting everything into this last fight. But I don't see it happening. I see Ihor Potera probably catching him with some quick strikes and finishing him, if not winning a pretty decisive decision. But you never know. Shogun tends to surprise you when you least expect it. So, all right. So now we have Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. This is the 4th time these guys will meet for a title. It's the first time in history this has ever happened. This is crazy. So Moreno, the first fight was a draw. I'm just going to go in and check. But I think these guys have only fought each other. Or sorry, Moreno fought. Yeah, so his last 3 fights, Figueiredo, were only against Moreno. So he won a draw. Or first fight was a draw, a majority draw, which two judges scored it as a draw, and one judge gave it to one of the fighters. I don't remember exactly which fighter they gave it to, but a majority draw means 2 out of 3 judges scored the fight a draw, declaring the fight a draw. So, of course, they had to rematch, right? Where that second fight, Brandon Moreno honestly looked so good in that second fight. He just dominated him. You can tell he kind of just like Figueiredo just did not know what to do, and kind of got overwhelmed, and I feel like he mentally kind of broke in that fight. Fight number 3 was an interesting fight because Figueiredo went and trained with Cejudo, and Cejudo's master at game planning and coming up with a strategy to just win fights, just win regardless. And he kind of, I feel like, kept Figueiredo's head straight throughout the fight and really helped him have a really amazing performance. I did score Figueiredo winning that fight. It was super close, but I did feel like Figueiredo did enough to pull it out and fought really smart, which I'm not saying he doesn't always fight smart, but he fought like how a champion would fight in these types of fights. So this 4th fight is going to be insane. I believe Moreno has actually had a fight against Kai Kara-France since then and won the interim title since losing. Yeah, so he lost to Figueiredo that decision. Then he beat Kai Kara-France, who's a beast, with a liver kick. Super hard fight to pick. It's in Brazil. If it was in Mexico, I would probably pick Brandon Moreno. Because it's in Brazil, I'm going to pick Figueiredo. The only advantage I feel like Moreno probably has, well, he had a fight in between this fight, which should really help him. But with that being said, Figueiredo might have been nursing injuries. You never really know. So that could have benefited him having that time off as well. Okay, so that's the co-main event. Super amped for this card. It's insane. I love when they put 2 title fights on. Glover Teixeira versus Jamal Hill, the main event. So this was originally supposed to be Glover, or sorry, no, was it supposed to be? It's supposed to be Glover versus, somebody correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on this, but I believe it was supposed to be, let's see here, go to canceled fights, fizzled out fights. Oh, it doesn't show them for some reason. So anyway, yeah, so it was supposed to be somebody else versus Glover, I believe. And something happened. They called Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill was supposed to be fighting Anthony Lionheart Smith, but now he is fighting for the title. Took this fight. They both took this fight kind of on short notice. Glover was training. Jamal Hill was training, but he wasn't supposed to fight till later in this like kind of early spring. So, but good for him. I love both these guys, honestly. Love Jamal Hill's striking. Glover is just a very well-rounded fighter. Still doing it at, I believe, 43. I think that's how old he is. 43. Still crushing. He just lost that fight to Yuri. But if you go back and watch that fight, another 30 seconds, he would still be the champion. So he just got caught at the end, gassed out, was giving her in that fight. But man, he looked amazing. Jamal Hill, let's check this out. He's been on a tear. I think his one loss is to Paul Craig, which was a pretty nasty loss. That arm broke his arm. Since then, knocked out Jimmy Crute first round, knocked out Johnny Walker first round. That's a really nice knockout if anybody hasn't seen that one. And then finished Thiago Santos, who's no joke either. Glover is definitely a step up in competition, I think, compared to all of these guys. Glover's one of the best. He's been working a lot with Alex Pereira, who's probably the best striker, I think, in UFC period. And yeah, so man, this fight is super hard to pick. I gotta go with Glover. It's in Brazil, just a little more well-rounded. I will not be surprised though if Jamal Hill catches him on the chin and scores some crazy upset knockout. This guy is motivated. Love his style. Oh, these ads. Sorry for the ads, guys. Yeah, so Jamal Hill, I don't see him winning overall. I feel Glover will probably win. I think Glover will probably get a submission somewhere in the fight, to be honest. That being said, if he can get into kind of the later rounds, keep stopping takedowns, that's obviously going to be his game plan. Just stop takedowns, keep it on the feet, and get a finish, get a knockout. Glover can fight anywhere, but if he gets people to the ground, they're usually in trouble. So I'm going to pick Glover on this one. I'm going to lean towards him. I believe I said I'm going to pick Figueiredo on this one. Okay, guys, so we're at the end. I made all my picks. So my fight of the night, I'm going to, so tough. There's so many solid fights on here. But honestly, this has never happened before. 4 fights. I'm going to have to go with Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. My other 2 candidates would be Glover versus Jamal. I think that's going to be an insane fight. And let's see here. And the other one would be probably Gabrielle Bonfim versus Mounir Laziz. Those would be the 3 that I'd pick for fight of the night. But I think this will probably be the fight of the night. Depending on what you consider fight of the night, I think this will be the most technical fight of the night. This here will probably be an amazing fight as well. But this is the one I picked for fight of the night, guys. Thanks for watching. Leave in the comments who you think is going to be fight of the night. Maybe a few candidates that you have in your top fight of the night. Also your picks for even the main card, if you want to leave your picks in there. Let me know in the comments also what you'd like to see from me, if you'd like the videos to be longer, more in depth, or shorter. And yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate all the support. Give it a like, comment, subscribe. Every little bit helps. All right, thanks, guys. Take care.